It's Tuesday, and that means it's time for the bullpen, where we talk about the lessons we are learning as we scale our billion-dollar sales team. This morning, already talking about sales. We're onboarding 2 new sales reps today. So, this is getting into the nitty-gritty of everything we do. Because what we're doing right now, we are transitioning from a virtual sales team that we've been running for the past number of years into in-person. So we've got the brand new office, we got the sales team on the other side of this wall, and we're building an absolute juggernaut with some really solid people. So actually, Katie is in the studio. Katie, do you want to come say hi?
Hi.
Okay. All right. Hello, Katie. Oh, here, we got to share a mic. You want to say hi to everybody?
How's it going, everybody? It's Tuesday. We're pumped.
Now, I am super pumped for Katie because on Wednesdays, Katie is actually hosting her own show.
Oh, this is starting next week, Wednesday, live at 12 p.m. called She's the Boss.
And Katie, I'm very proud of you. We're going to be taking the reins of that show. I'm very excited to see what you are going to do with it, because you've got a pretty cool list of guests.
Yeah, we're booked solid for the next 5 to 6 weeks of ladies coming on who are entrepreneurs, business owners, from all realms of wealth creation. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, and we were just talking before we hit the air about a topic I thought would be cool, but Katie kiboshed it, so we're not allowed to talk about it. All right, awesome. Okay, thank you very much, Katie. All right, so let's get into sales techniques. Because when I first started in sales, the very first sales job I had was actually for my own company. So I was running one of those student painting franchises, and I was knocking on doors. That's how I generated a lot of the leads. And the one thing I learned is when it comes to sales, because we've got a lot of young salespeople come through, interview with us. The one thing I've learned is there is nothing that replaces training in door-to-door sales. Because right off the bat, you have to be sharp. As soon as you knock on the door, people open up. It's so cold. There's no inbound. You are 100% cold outbound, right? So you're knocking on the door. You have to be sharp. You have to be on the ball. People are going to slam the door in your face. You're going to have to deal with rejection all the time. You're going to deal with the angry person who's like, never come here again, right? You've got the person who door knocked an hour before you and goes to really put them in a bad mood, and then you're dealing with the aftermath. It really teaches the process. So what I find is when somebody's got that door-to-door experience and they've got the charisma, the swagger that every salesperson needs, they go from that into being taught how to run a high-ticket sale or sale the proper way, and they just explode. Because the way we run the sales process is we run sales at a high level, right? Because we've got some higher-end offers. We've got Conference Accelerator right here, which is where we actually integrate with other events, because we've scaled out our conference, right? And other events approach us asking for help. So that's certainly a high ticket sale right there. We run that process at a very high level. It's not like we're selling window washing, right? So it's a high ticket. We have a Partner Accelerator, again, high ticket offer. It produces really good results. The product's really solid, but we have to be able to help somebody through that sales process so they can actually get into the program and get those results. So that's what we're talking about today. And so when we're talking about the sales process, here, let me pull up the iPad here. When we're talking about the sales process, just to keep things simple, I'm going to break it down into a few key steps. Now, when we're talking about the high ticket stuff, it gets a little bit more complex, and we want to hit very specific things in the call. But generally speaking, this morning, I was training our 2 new sales reps, getting them onboarded. We're going to be breaking things down very simply. So on the sales call, right, we're going to have the introduction. This is where we're going to greet them, say who you are, that type of thing, right? Then we're going to hop into discovery. This is where we start asking questions of the prospect. Then we have a transition. Then we have the pitch or the proposal. And then we have, which is objections, all that stuff. Those are really, when you break it down, the 5 steps of the sales call. Now, with our sales team, we basically have 2 different teams, right? On the one side, we're selling tickets to events. So, for instance, multifamily conference. the conference that I run. We're selling thousands of tickets to that. That's high volume. We've got 10x stages coming up right here in October. We're going to have like 500 people to that. Pete Vargas, Grant Cardone, and myself are running this first time in Canada, Canadian exclusive. 10x stages is coming up in Toronto. Again, high volume. We have to sell a lot of tickets. And when you're doing that type of high volume, you need a sales process that allows you to go in, get what you need, make the sale, and then you can go on and because you got to sell. Like our top guy is selling like 12 tickets a day, right? For this type of thing, because you have to do that high volume. You can't just sell one ticket a day. It just doesn't work. So the way we approach the sale when we're doing outbound. So let's say somebody's inquired for 10x stages coming up, and we're about to launch this campaign. Rabi right here is just finishing up some stuff, and we're launching this campaign next week. So we're probably going to follow you around the internet for that. But when somebody comes in through this funnel, we're going outbound. So this is the way we structure our call. This is the introduction. Hey John, it's Rabi calling from Seth Ferguson's office. How's it going today? Oh, going great. Great. Now, if you recall, yesterday you opted in to learn more about our 10x Stages workshop coming up in Toronto in October. Does that ring a bell? Oh yeah, I remember that. That's one with Seth and Grant. Yes. Now, my call, I simply want to get you some more information about the workshop. It's actually relevant for you. Does that sound fair enough? That's exactly the call. So what we've done in the introduction, we've introduced yourself, the company that you're calling from, right? And we're giving them the context as to why we're calling. So this is a part a lot of people miss. Because with our sales processes, we do a lot of inbound. We don't dial the phone book, right? We're dealing with a lot of warm inbound. So somebody's giving us their information because they want it, right? That's why we run all these ads and follow people all around the internet. So we want to remind somebody why we're calling. So that's the context. So this is where it goes into, hey, now, if you recall, yesterday or earlier today, earlier today, you opted in to learn more about the 10x Stages 10x Stages workshop coming up in Toronto in October. Does that ring a bell? Right? We want to tell people why we're calling, what action they took to prompt the call. This helps because the last thing we want to do is come across as somebody selling duct cleaning. Everybody's received those duct cleaning phone calls. It's unsolicited. These calls are not unsolicited because they've requested more information. They've given us the info. We need to get in touch so we can actually give them the right information. So we do the introduction. Then we get into discovery. Now, this is let me back. The first 10 seconds of the call, you have to nail that to get you into discovery. Now, discovery is where you make or break your sale, right? Because in discovery, this is where you find out whether or not the prospect is a good fit for the product and how you can actually help them. So let me break down discovery for you. Now, if we're selling, one of our event tickets, we're going to look for 4 key things. Okay. The first thing we're going to look for is pain or their challenge. The terms are interchangeable. What is the prospect looking to fix? What's not going right now in their business that's actually prompted them to reach out? So one of the questions we use is, hey, okay, well, what would you say is the number one challenge you're facing right now in your business? Or, hey, what's your number one challenge right now when it comes to raising money? Hey, what's the number one challenge you're facing right now in terms of scaling your conference? Right? These are all based questions that we have to lead with. Because remember, in sales, if there's no pain, there's no sale. So might as well lead with that. Hey, what are you trying to fix? That's what you're asking. And then once we figure out the pain, then we dig deeper. So when we're training new sales reps, right? When we're training somebody new, the common thing that happens is they ask the prospect, hey, what's the big challenge for you right now? They get an answer and they move on right away to the next question. No, we can't do that. When you get the prospects challenge their pain, you have to start digging deeper into that because sometimes the prospect doesn't really know what their true pain is, right? We have to dig into that. So it's like, with the 10x Stages, I'm trying to get on more podcasts, but I keep getting shut down. Or, hey, I was invited to speak somewhere. I got on stage and I bombed. I'm just trying to do a better job next time. Or, hey, I want to get on some big stages like Seth's conference in front of thousands of people. I have no idea how to do that, right? Because 10x stages, that's centered around, hey, how can we get you on more stages and actually teach you how to structure a signature talk? So with this, there's myself. I run the largest real estate investing conference in the country. We get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications from potential speakers a year. We know a thing or two about what it takes to get on stage. And then Pete Vargas, he's helped so many people. He's helped Grant, he's helped Elena, I can go through the laundry list of people he's helped in terms of creating their signature talk. And then we've got Grant. Grant is Grant. He runs 10X Growth Con. Obviously, he speaks on a whole ton of stages. So in terms of, this offer here, the product is good, but we have to find out the problem the customer is having right now in order to relate this product to them, right? So we have to go pain. So what's your pain? Yeah, I'm just having trouble. I get on stage, I'm really nervous, my talk bombs. Instead of being like, okay, check and we move on, what we have to do is ask more questions about that. My favorite one is, okay, well, tell me more about that. What's going on? And then the prospect will give you the whole background, like what's going on, what's not working. Okay, well, and you can ask follow-up and follow-up and follow-up, right? We want to go 3 to 5 levels deeper than surface level. Surface level doesn't sell. We have to dig deeper into that. Once we have a good idea of their pain, so you can close your eyes and just paint a picture of their pain, you know exactly what the problem is. Then we move on to cost of inaction. So basically, in a nutshell, is what happens if you don't fix that problem, right? Because you've got this one pain. Okay, so let's say, for example, somebody gets on stage every time and then they just bomb, and they don't know why. They're all excited. They get on stage. It's crickets. Nothing happens. What's going on? Well, now we have to figure out, well, what happens if they keep going on stage and bombing? What's going to be the impact? Right? Maybe they stop getting invited to be on stage. Maybe it's embarrassing for the business. Maybe it's going to hurt their reputation in the industry. We got to figure this out, because it's one thing to have a pain, but what happens if they don't fix the pain? That's going to drive somebody to take action and actually purchase a ticket to this event, come in and work with us full time, whatever it is. We have to find what happens if we don't solve it. For example, let's say I have a broken elbow. That's my pain. So my son actually had the screws put into his elbow a couple years ago, right? Yeah, you have a broken elbow. What happens if you don't fix that pain, right? Well, your elbow's not going to heal. Your arm's going to heal at a funny angle. And what's the impact of that? Well, you're not going to be able to play sports. Your arm's going to be permanently deformed, all this type of stuff. This is what you have to get into, no matter what pain it is. Now, once we cover the cost of inaction, now we want to figure out solutions. Right? What has the prospect tried in the past to figure this out? Right? Because maybe they've tried working with a speaking coach for 10x stages, right? Maybe they've hired somebody to write a speech for them or their presentation. Maybe they've been working with somebody on their confidence on stage, whatever it is. We need to know that, because by the time we present this offer, when we have the proposal, we have to know what the prospect's already tried, so we can make sure we separate this product versus what they've done in the past. For instance, maybe somebody took, they're not comfortable on stage talking. They get on a podcast and they freeze up. Maybe they took this group coaching program where it's like, hey, over 4 weeks, you just watch all these videos and we're going to help you overcome your stage fright. Maybe that was the product. So now when we're talking about 10x stages and say, hey, listen, like Seth, Pete, Grant, these guys know a thing or two about being on stage, we're actually going to work with you over the 2 days on exactly what you have to do to build out your signature talk. And once you have your signature, blah, 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 right? That's the proposal we're going to make. But we have to be able to separate this versus what the prospects tried in the past and they didn't get results. Because if you're confident in your product, if you know your product can produce the results, right? We've got Apartment Accelerator, our flagship real estate training program. We just had Jimmy in here last week. He did 4 deals in 1 year, just following up the process. Kudos to him. He deserves a lot of credit because he applied himself and he was focused. But we gave him the step-by-step guide. He was 100% committed to it and he got exceptional results, right? So so I'm confident in that product. I know it will produce results as long as the customer comes in and they're committed. If you're confident in your product, right, you should be confident in terms of offering that as a solution when other people didn't work. Maybe they tried 3 other coaches for speaking, whatever it is. They didn't have success, but you're confident in the product. Like you have the testimonials, you have the success stories. You should be 100% certain of letting the customer know, hey, this is a perfect fit for you. But we have to be able to separate what they've tried in the past to what your product offers. Plus, we also have to ask, hey, what kind of help are you looking for? Right? Because maybe they're looking for, maybe the pain is, hey, I don't know what to say, and they're looking for a speechwriter. Well, like, no, that's not going to work. Like realistically, it's not going to work. Like we know how bad it is when somebody's reading a teleprompter speech. Like, it just doesn't. So the prospect here thinks they need one solution, but the real solution, let me tell you, is not a speechwriter. But you have to know this, so that way when you're transitioning into your proposal, you can actually educate the prospect on, well, hey, remember how you said this? Can I share some thoughts on that? And then you're going to educate them on why that's probably not the right direction to go. And you can leverage your experience. And then you can position your product, which is probably the solution they need. Right? Does that make sense? So we have to ask these questions in discovery before we even start selling. And then after that, we have to get their goals. So, hey, let's say we figure this problem out, right? We figure out how to get you on stage, or we figure out how to make you more confident, or hey, we figure out how to sell 2,000 tickets to your next event, whatever that is. Now we can transition to the future and paint a picture of, hey, where do they want to go? What's the long-term plan? Why are you looking to do this? So now we've basically figured out, hey, where they're at today and where they want to be tomorrow, and your product is the connecting dot, right? So we've got today, we've got tomorrow. Your product is the bridge, and your salesperson or your sales process is going to help the person process. Because realistically, at the end of the day, this is the thing I've learned. And we sell a lot of different things. We sell thousands of tickets to the event. We have our higher end products. The thing I've learned is people deep down inside, even for me, I know what kind of help I need. I know points. Like I know I have to do something, but people consistently get in their own way, and they will stop themselves from taking action because that's how people are wired. Because people don't like commitment. So even me, I need a salesperson to walk me through the sales process and hold my hand to make sure that I feel okay with making a firm commitment. Because as soon as the customer gives you money, they have made the ultimate commitment, and that's scary. The customer deep inside will know, yeah, I really, really need this, but for whatever reason, they can't they can't let themselves make the decision. That's where a good salesperson will come in, and not high pressure, right? We're not forcing them to buy. It's just walking through the process and just making sure that the benefit to them is foremost, like front and center, and holding your hand as they cross that bridge. That's a good salesperson. But what happens is you're a brand new sales rep. This happens all the time. You do the introduction and then automatically start pitching the product, right? One of our new people the other day, they started doing that because it was their, I think, second day on the phone. I cut that really, really quickly. Because how can you sell something until you've actually asked the customer questions? You don't. You have no idea. If you skip discovery, which is what a lot of amateur salespeople do, you have no idea what challenges the customer's facing. You have no idea what happens to the customer, what's at stake. You have no idea what the customer's done in the past, what kind of help you're looking for, and you have no idea what their goals are, like where they want to go. So how can you sell a product if you skip discovery? So you have to make sure. Oh, I just lost my pen. You have to make sure that you find these things on discovery. Once you do that, right? So for our ticket sales, our average is like 7 to 10 minutes in discovery. That's for our ticket sales for events. When we're getting into the higher ticket, done with you, done for you solutions, discovery could be 20 minutes, it could be 25, it could be 30 minutes on the call. Because we're going through a lot of detail because we have to be able to create a customized solution to that customer, if that makes sense. But for the ticket sales, generally like tickets will range from $500 to let's say $5,000. you're in and out of discovery in 7 to 10 minutes. That's our average numbers. Okay. So you do that. Now you transition. So for us, if they are a good fit, you should tell them that. If they're not a good fit, you end the call in a really nice way. It's like, based on what you've told me, it really doesn't sound like we can help you with that. So, I'm really sorry, but like we just don't have a solution. Right? But if they are a perfect fit, you have to tell them. So, John, based on everything you just said to me, the 10X Stages workshop is definitely a perfect fit for you. And then we have to tell them we just made a huge, huge, hey, it's a perfect fit for you. Now we have to give them a short one sentence context as to why. So definitely a perfect fit for you. Hey, you mentioned you struggle when you're speaking on stage on podcasts and you're feeling really self-conscious. Well, that's exactly what we're covering at the workshop. Now, and then you're going to transition. So you have to transition. Now, remember how I gave you the example of somebody who needs a speech writer? They think they just have to write their speech, but the real problem is it's just like they don't understand what makes a good signature talk, and they don't have their story down. They don't know exactly what to say and what to draw on. So if they hire a speech writer, they're going to tell the speech writer what to write, and the speech is going to bomb. So in that transition, hey, it's definitely a perfect fit for you. You mentioned this, remember that? Perfect. Now, I've got a couple thoughts. Would you like me to share them? Yes. And now you're going to do a quick segue, and probably you're going to tell a story or share an example of a past customer who thought the way the prospect is, and they're going to read how they're thinking about their issue. Right? So I'll just make this up off the cuff. So, John, do you mind if I share some thoughts on that? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Gotcha. Okay, thanks. So, remember how you said that you're really looking out for a speech writer because you just said you're not confident with what you're saying. Speech writer you think can really help you, give you. Well, we actually had a client, and this is where you go and talk to the client. We actually had a client who tried hiring a speech writer, and they didn't really have much success. And let me tell you why. They found that they got up on stage. They said the exact words the speechwriter told them to say, but the essence, the core of the speech was wrong. It didn't land because they were missing 3 key parts of an effective stage presentation. Then you can go in and reframe, and then you end up in terms of positioning your product as the right product, right? So that's a made up example on how you would transition. If somebody's got the wrong frame, you want to reframe them before you position your product. Right? So how do we actually go in and sell, all that type of stuff? Well, I call it a pitch sandwich, and this works really, really well when we're selling these lower ticket items, anything below $5,000. We use pitch sandwiches because I love food. So this is what a pitch sandwich looks like. So let me draw the sandwich out. Okay, so or pitch burger, whatever you want. It's a double patty. It's a Krabby Patty. Okay, so first of all, we have to mention the problem. So the way we like doing this is saying, hey, John, remember how you said that, so for instance, with Conference Accelerator, hey, John, remember how you said that, hey, John, remember how you said that you're getting a lot of leads, a lot of traffic to your conference website, but you've only sold a handful of tickets, and you really have no idea why? You're going to highlight the problem you just said. Now you're going to introduce the mechanism. So this is your IP. This is the unique thing that you have. Now, depending on the product or the pitch, for 10X Stages, one of the mechanisms is your signature talk, how we break down the signature talk, right? For Conference Accelerator, we have a lot, right? Because it's our entire IP for how we run conferences. But one would be our sellout system, right? Or we have the 3S formula on how you build the event, like those types of things. So, hey, remember how you're having trouble doing this? Well, that's exactly why. This is exactly why Seth and Pete are going to be walking you through this signature talk, right? So now you're going to explain how the signature talk is actually going to help them. So, because when you have a signature talk, you're going to know exactly what to say, how to say it, and how to frame our presentation. So you're going to pull the 3 key things every single presentation must have. You need to have an emotional pull. You need to have, and you're going to go through and outline your IP, right? How it's going to talk. And then you're going to highlight the benefit. So the statement I like to use, especially when training new sales reps, is what this means for you. So what this means for you is next time you're on stage, you're going to know exactly what to say. You're going to be confident. You're going to crush it. But more importantly, you're going to elicit an emotional response in the audience that's not going to just have them stand up and applaud for you. You're actually going to take action and do exactly whatever that prospect wanted them to do, right? At the end of the day. So whether it's sales leads, buy a product, whatever it is. That's the pitch sandwich. And if you follow this framework, you're going to be able to do pitches right off the pitches on the fly, off the cuff. Because what happens is we get into discovery, and we all know like roughly, how proposals, how that sale is going to go. But depending on the prospect, it could go a number of different ways. So we have to be able to come up with our pitch, know exactly what we're going to do on the fly. So the way I do this is, let's say I'm in discovery for somebody about Conference Accelerator, right? We're going to do Conference Accelerator right here. Or you know what? Let's talk about the 2-day capital raising workshop that's coming up, right? Somebody's having trouble finding investors, okay? So I'm in discovery. I'm probably going to have 2 or 3 pitch sandwiches, right? So we have one sandwich that's connected to the next sandwich, connected to the next sandwich. So I need 3 different things. So I'm in discovery, and somebody's telling me, yeah, I just don't know on investors. I need to raise capital. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Right? So I'm going to, on my notes, I'm going to say find investors, right? So that's going to be the first thing. And then the second problem, and then I just don't know what to say. Okay. So the problem is this person, they need to raise a whole bunch of money, but they don't know where to find investors. And like if they do talk with somebody, they know that means they can't close. So this is what I'm writing my notes. I'm going to say funnel. That's going to be this is going to be the first thing I'm going to talk about. Then I'm going to go into our script. Then I'm going to go into structuring. So this is how the pitch sandwich is going to break down for capital raising. So definitely perfect if you blah, 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 I get into the proposal. So John, remember how you said that you're just having trouble finding investors? And that means like you're twiddling your thumbs instead of actually talking with people who could invest with you, right? So I'm highlighting the problem. Well, that's exactly why Seth and Brad are going to literally give you their entire investor attraction system. And then I'm going to go into explain what that is. So, hey, in this 2-day workshop, Seth and Brad are going to be unpacking exactly what they do. Number one, find qualified investors who are interested in investing in your opportunity. And more importantly, they're actually financially qualified to invest money. Because, John, there's no point in pitching somebody who's not liquid right now, right? And then I'm going to expand on how we do that. Now, John, what this means for you is you're going to know exactly the right people to target to bring into your investor pipeline. So when you do talk with them, they're qualified, they're interested, they're ready to rock and roll. And this means that when blah, blah, you're going to fill your calendar, all that kind of stuff. Any thoughts on that? What are your thoughts? Okay, so that's pitch sandwich number 1. Pitch sandwich number 2. So John, once we find those investors, you're able to identify them, bring them into your ecosystem, and you're filling up your calendar with those conversations. The next thing you need to do is you need to be able to close them on the call, right? And this is where I would introduce the next IP, which is the script. And that's exactly why Seth is going to give you the exact capital raising script he uses on calls with investors. And now I'm going to talk about how he's going to do that. So in this 2-day workshop, Seth is going to walk you through step by step exactly what to say, how to say it, and how to actually close. Because this is an art to it. It's not something you just do. You have to be trained. So there's a very specific way Seth approaches these calls that allows him to close those investor checks. Right? I'm just making this up on the fly. Then we get into the benefit. So what this means for you is instead of just having investors say, "Oh, let me think about it," or maybe next time, you're going to start closing investors. But more importantly, instead of just closing them, you're going to be collecting bigger checks from them than you ever have before, because you're going to know exactly what to say, and you're going to be absolutely confident on every single investor call, right? And then what are your thoughts on it, right? And then I would go into the third pitch sandwiches. Hey, once you're able to raise all the money, now you have to know how to deploy that money efficiently. deploy that capital efficiently. And this is why. And then we talk about how you structure deals. Right. So if you're on the phone and run through this, it's very logical. You do pitch damage one, problem or pain. You do the introduce the mechanism. In this case, it was the investor attraction funnel or the exact investor script, whatever it is. You explain how the script is going to help them, how it's going to be implemented, and then the benefit. So what this means for you is, and then paint what's going to happen when you deploy it. And you can run 2 or generally 3 pitch sandwiches for each sales presentation that you do, especially for these tickets. So like I said, we sell tickets like $5,000 and below, depending on the offer. You're going to use this pitch sandwich framework. It's going to work really, really well. Okay, so that's a pitch sandwich. And then we get into closing. That's a whole different live stream that we're going to be doing on how to handle objectives. But how we train our team, as we're always hiring, looking for good quality salespeople. We keep the pitch sandwich framework for our event team, which is where we're selling thousands of tickets. This works really well. Now, when we move into high ticket, and we're proposing like a $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 solution to somebody, at that point, then we change and we complicate discovery a lot more. We're finding more specific things in terms of the proposal. It remains the same, but we're going to articulate a little bit differently. For us, when somebody onboards with our team, we get them on the phone, we start selling our events, and we follow pitch sandwiches or pitch burgers, Krabby Patties, however you want to call it. But again, it all goes back to discovery. Because if you don't do your job in discovery, if you have no idea what you're talking about, if you haven't asked questions about the pain, the solutions, cost of the goals, if you don't have that, how can you customize your sale to benefit the prospect? You can't. So this is why your pitch falls flat. When I'm listening to our new guys onboarding, if a pitch isn't landing, it's because they're not specific enough. Specificity sells. If you just talk general, hey, we're going to help you raise money, that's not going to sell. But hey, we're going to watch you step by step exactly how you're going to find your next 10 qualified investors, and that's going to allow you to raise that $3 million you have to raise. But that's what sells because we're specific. But in order to do that, you have to have good discovery. You have to ask the right questions because once you do good discovery, you're solving the problem with the prospect, right? You're in problem solving mode at that point. All right. So I talked about a whole bunch of the different workshops here, but if you're looking to improve your sales, your sales, if you're looking to improve your stage presence, 10X stage is coming up. It's not even live yet. That's going to be next week, but I talked about it a little bit. But if you are a salesperson, you're here to learn. You want to improve your sales skills. I want to talk with you because we're hiring. My goal is to have 20, our in-person team up to 20 by the end of the year. We're looking for good quality people. So go to careers.sethferguson.com. Send me your resume, apply, tell me why a great fit because we have thousands of tickets to sell. We're building $1 billion sales team. We've got a lot of products to sell because we want to help people. That's what we want to do, and it's going to take a lot of people to do that. Okay, so we are building out the team. But so tune in for Katie's show this Wednesday we don't have it, so next week Katie has a guest, and then you can join me on Thursday for Event Domination, where we talk about the science behind running large-scale multi-million-dollar events. All right, have a great day. Hopefully this helped, and I'll see you later.